Well, welcome back to another episode of In the Den, a Greenville ISD podcast. We have a super special episode ahead for you today because we are joined today by the proud Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Joe Lopez. So let's get right into setting the standard superintendent style. Well, what is going on, Lion listeners? We are so excited. I know Natalie and I have been really giddy about this episode. We've been super excited to get it in here and get it started. But today we are setting the standard superintendent style, and I think you'll get to know exactly what that means as we introduce our special guest today and we get a little insight into his brain. So thank you, Dr. Lopez, for joining us today. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you, guys. It's an honor to be here, and I'm just humbled and excited to be on your podcast and ready to hit the ground running.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, Dr. Lopez, let's get a little bit into your brain. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Sure. Well, I've served in education for over 24 years. Started off as an 8th grade literature teacher, then moved into an assistant principal role at a middle school, and then had the opportunity to move up to the high school and serve as an assistant principal there. Then worked as a elementary principal, moved up to a high school principal, and then had the opportunity to serve at central office as the executive director for state and federal programs, and then went straight into the superintendent position over in Taft ISD, and then was superintendent over in Kermit ISD, and now I'm blessed to be here in Greenville.
Awesome. A literary, I can't even say that word, literary teacher. Favorite book?
You know what? I was always just in awe of any stories or any books that dealt with Titanic. Whether it was just going through the historical attributes of it or just becoming familiar with Robert Ballard's expedition to the Titanic. That was always a kind of a favorite of mine.
Yeah. Awesome. I think Natalie's favorite movie is the Titanic.
I always wonder, why didn't they both get on that door?
It puts it into perspective. So you talked a little bit about that you started a career in superintendency, and what inspired you to actually pursue that career, specifically the role of a superintendent? I know we have a lot of school administrators, but the percentage when it gets to superintendency goes down a little bit. So what inspired you to take on the role of superintendency?
I guess it would be several things. I grew up in a community very similar to Greenville, and so education played a huge role in my life and a role in my parents' lives. And so I knew that education was the key to success. Education was the equalizer, but also the opportunity to go and make a difference. And that was something that was instilled in me from an early age. And so I can tell you that when I became a teacher and I was sitting in that teacher role, I would often see things happening around me, and I would look to the leadership within the campus or with regards within the district. And as I looked around, I thought, you know what? I think I could make a bigger difference than just within my classroom. And so I was blessed with great mentors, individuals that believed in me from an early career or early on in my career. And so I took all their knowledge, all their experiences, and kind of morphed it into becoming the superintendent that I wanted to be. One that would be approachable, one that would work closely with staff and students and community members, and one that was really student focused. And that's one thing that I hope the community will see, is that I'm all about our students. That is huge.
Yeah.
And so I was blessed that to kind of see that pathway and just jumped right into it.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Do you remember a teacher who made an impact on your life when you were a child? Like someone looking back now that you can go, I can remember my 3rd grade teacher, and I still remember her or him doing this.
Yeah, so that teacher for me would have been Mr. John Warren at Mims Elementary in Mission CISD. He was my 6th grade teacher, and at that time, I was not struggling academically, but I wasn't an A student. And I remember him pulling me to the side and just saying, look, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to come to tutorials, and you're going to see things pay off at the end. And at that time, more than anything, he was just a role model and someone that was an extra father figure for me at school. but he really motivated me and inspired me to do better and to reach for goals. And so, just, when I think back, he had such a huge impact and profound impact in my early years that it really put me on a positive trajectory for academic success.
I love that. So we're talking about superintendency, and you mentioned that you kind of use the leaders that you've run into, the leaders that have helped to mentor you, and even some of your co-teachers and co-administrators. But above all of that, what do you believe is the most important quality for a superintendent to possess?
I would say one of the biggest attributes to have is being transparent and being or you probably asked for one, but I guess
That's okay.
There's a couple.
Sure.
Being transparent, having great communication skills. I can tell you that 9 out of 10 times people just want to understand the why. They want to know where you're coming from as to why this decision is being made. And then being positive. If you're going to serve in the role of superintendent, you have to be positive in all that you do and all that you bring to the table, and truly believing that every single child can learn.
That's great. That's great. Well, this year's theme, if you guys haven't seen already on any of our social media, marketing materials, or anything of that nature, this year's theme is setting the standard. And it's something that we implemented as Dr. Lopez was joining Greenville ISD, and something that as a team we sat down and said, what is our vision for the year? So we got setting the standard. But Dr. Lopez, what does setting the standard mean to you? And how does it kind of help guide your day-to-day leadership?
Sure. Setting the standard is one of my core beliefs, but it's also huge for GISD in that it starts from day one. We want to make sure that we're the best, regardless of whether that's in the classroom, whether we're on the football field, on our courts, at the playground, walking through our hallways, whatever it is that we're doing it at a high standard. And that high standard is going to lead to success in academics. It's going to lead to success in our extracurricular activities, but it's really just going to pave the way for all the great things that are going to be happening within our school district, and things that we should be striving for and pushing for each and every single day.
I love that. I love that.
So Dr. Lopez, we have so many great strengths here in the district. How do you plan to build upon them?
Well, I think it's important to not forget, but also to recognize all the previous achievements, because that built GISD up over the years. We want to continue to enhance that by making sure that we're offering many extracurricular programs to our students, making sure that we can provide professional development to our staff, making sure that we have good technology for our students as well, and making sure that we're building the frameworks for great opportunities for parental involvement. I think that's going to be key in the years to come, is how can we get more parents involved, not just at the elementary level, but at the middle school and high school level, and how can we continue to build our community engagement?
That's great. I know one of the things that we've been super excited about, and if you haven't heard already, under Dr. Lopez's leadership, we're super excited to say that elementary UIL will be rolling back into our elementary schools. And so that's something that, we see as a strength, and then like you're talking about, Natalie, that we're building upon, because I know you'll hear Dr. Lopez say quite frequently too, it starts all the way at the littlest lions, our smallest students, our youngest students, and making sure that they're equipped with success all the way until they graduate high school, and then even equipping them with success after they graduate high school. Dr. Lopez, I want to jump back really quickly to our theme that we have set in the standard here. And I know I've heard you say it a few times that you're competitive, and that means Greenville ISD will be competitive. And me being a competitive person, I love that. So speaking of setting the standard, how do we ensure that we remain competitive, not just academically, but athletically, fine arts, things of that nature? How do we make sure that we continue to set the standard? We can deliver the theme, but what do we do as a district? I mean, how does that impact us to actually set the standard?
Sure. Well, since May 1st, when I was first hired by the Board of Trustees to come in, I've taken the time to evaluate, to assess, to review, and see areas where we can continue to grow. But when you're looking at setting the standard, we want to make sure that what it really comes down to is providing opportunities. Do we have those opportunities for our students, staff, and community to grow? Are they all interwoven, that we're all working hand in hand for those things, so that we can have that success? And it also comes from being realistic. One of the things that you'll hear me say out in the community is that, my job is to hear the good, the bad, the ugly, and of course, all the great things happening. But when there are issues or there are items of concern, what can we do to fix those, move on and make them better? I'm not one that's going to turn the blind eye and say, well, you know what, I'll leave that problem for someone else. If I'm in the seat, and obviously I'm serving as a proud superintendent for GISD, I want to make sure that we do listen. We are communicating in a positive manner, but that we're also coming up with plans to ensure the success. And sometimes that means change. Of course, if we think about our things in our own lives, sometimes change is hard. And, but I'm also not a person that believes in just making a change for the sake of making change.
Right.
So as we roll programs out, as we implement new initiatives, we want to make sure that we're strategic. We want to make sure that we're pragmatic. We want to make sure that we've got a plan to carry this mission out. And so I think that comes from having a collective effort from all the individuals involved, hearing from our community members, our students, our staff, all the stakeholders that want to see us be successful.
I love that. And I'm going to we went back on setting the standard there to that topic. And I'm going to move forward now to when you had said about community involvement, because I love it. I love seeing you in the community and how you've brought the school board and the district into the Christmas parade, or your first week here, you're doing the color run, and you are the community, and it's great. How do you prioritize your engagement with that, with having, school and family and just everything?
Sure. Well, one of the things that I shared with the Board of Trustees when I was going through the interview process is that my family and I believe in being fully vested, being 100% part of the community. And if those are attributes and values that you truly believe in, then it starts from day one. And so we did as a family do the 5K color run. Of course, if you'd ask my wife after that event, she was like, why did you sign us up for this? And I mean, proudly, I'll say my daughter Anna took off in full speed and we lost her. And then for a while she came back around. My son Benjamin was just running there next to us. But, I have a very supportive family that understands what it means for me to be able to serve as superintendent of schools. And so having that strong support at home lends itself well for me to be able to be available in the community. But it's not just about myself, and I've shared this with many people or with the board when I was going through the process, is that you will see us at community events. You will see us at local restaurants. We love to eat. That's probably not a great thing, but we love to eat. And we enjoy going out to community functions. I think it's important. I know it's important deep in my heart that if you believe in being a part of the fabric of the community, then that starts with you being out there and being available. Right. And, as long as they don't get crazy, they don't get tired of my crazy twins, we're good.
I love that. I'm thinking maybe the Fiddle Festival next year is going to have the Lopez family up there with fiddles.
Yeah, there you go. I can see that in my head right now. We'll work on the plan now. That starts with getting a fiddle and getting Dr. Lopez into some lessons. But we'll get there. So talking about, Natalie brought up engagement and specifically community engagement, but even just kind of narrowing the scope a little bit and talking about engagement inter-district, what kind of role do you feel like feedback, whether it's from parents, students even? I know that you've started some sounding board committees, whether it's staff. What kind of role do you feel like feedback plays in shaping our district initiatives, whether it's something you're rolling out, something that we have? What's kind of your insight on that?
Sure. Well, we've just rolled out our superintendent's advisory councils for our parents, our staff, our students, and community members. And the reason or the rationale behind that is that throughout the year, there's going to be opportunities where these groups will have the chance to meet with me, but also to just kind of come in and share the great things that are happening and any areas of concern. And so that gives me boots on the ground, real life data that I can kind of process, see where we can make some improvements, and then roll some things out. And then, sometimes I think we can kind of get stuck in a rut where we're just even going through the motions. And that's one thing that I don't believe in. I don't believe in mediocre. I don't believe in mediocrity. We want to constantly be on the lookout for opportunities for growth and development. And so these communications that we're going to have together kind of set the standard for that, and that I'm able to hear directly from them, they know that I'm going to at least process it, think about it, and then get back to them and let them know, hey, this is something that we can implement, or this is something that we're going to put on the docket for the future. But I think having that one-on-one communication or two-way communication is an essential tool.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that folds hand in hand with what we talked about at the beginning of this episode is transparency, right? That's what every constituent wants. I mean, whether it's in the school district, whether it's in other areas of just human society, transparency is what we want. And I think that those committees are the huge step in that direction and making sure that there is that, what you said, representation of everyone, whether it's student, staff, community member, parent, whatever that looks like, having that open form of feedback. So I want to transition in kind of our next area here. We talked about we are one team, right? We're one district. We're Greenville ISD. How do we, and if you don't know and you're listening, we have what we consider 10 campuses, one of those being a campus in a campus. And so having all of those campuses and having different campus leaders in different areas and even all the way down to different campus mascots for our elementary schools, how do we ensure that while we're making sure we have campus success and individual success at those campuses, how are we also working toward unifying and being on the same district vision?
Sure. Well, I think that starts with being accessible, being available, and being out at those campuses.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, and we've rolled this out this year where we have all of our curriculum coordinators out at the campuses 4 days a week. So if someone were to be driving by central office on a Monday through Thursday, they would see that there's very little cars here. Well, there's very little cars because our staff is out at the campuses where they need to be, helping to make it happen, being able to help our staff, being able to help our students. And that only comes from being accessible or being available. And so our cabinet, myself as a superintendent, we believe in being highly visible out there. If we're doing those things and we're practicing what we're preaching, that in and of itself will lend itself for opportunities to get that immediate feedback, to see how we can help support that campus, support the vision of that campus, and most importantly, support our students.
Yeah, that's great. I know too, at least once a month, maybe even multiple times a month, we've got principals meetings that are happening here. We've got check-ins and pulse checks just to make sure, like you were talking about, and that we mentioned earlier, that we are, we don't have the one sheep that goes off into out of the fence, but we all stay together and we all remain one team, one family. I know when we kicked off convocation this year, that was one of the big things that Dr. Lopez talked about, and that we are one big family, and that's what we do here at Greenville ISD. We take care of each other, so that's exciting as well.
And I love that we do take care of each other. And when I walk on a campus or Zach walks on a campus, it's not oh, what are they doing here? But more like hey, what's going on? And we can high five the kids and their smiles, and we're all here for each other.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I want to move on to a little bit of some personal reflections for you, and whether that's in your career as a teacher, a superintendent, wherever life has led you so far. And let's narrow the scope down even a little bit more. Superintendency, since that's what this episode is about. Looking back on superintendency, whether it's been in Greenville ISD, your other districts that you've come from, what do you feel like has been one of your most impactful moments of your career, even just as a superintendent?
Well, I'll never forget this, and I've shared this with one of the community groups. So if they happen to hear the story again, I don't want them to think I'm losing my mind. It's one of those moments in your career where it really makes you reflect on things. And I'll never forget, it was one of my first signing days in one of the districts where I was serving in. And we had all the kids from pre-K all the way to high school in the gymnasium. Our seniors were coming down to sign with the university or colleges that they were going to. And I had a young man who was a senior that I had developed a very good relationship with. And he came up to me after the event and he said, "You know what, Dr. Lopez," or actually at that time it was Mr. Lopez. I didn't have my doctorate at that time. And he said, "There's a lot of us that are going into the workforce. And don't get me wrong," he's like, "I've already been accepted to a local community college." He's like, "But I plan to go and enter the workforce. Isn't that something that we should be valuing, or having kids come down and sign banners for that?" And it hit me straight to the heart. And I looked at him, and great kid. I mean, but he was going to go work in oil and gas. And so from that moment on, when we talked about planning for our future signing days, we made sure to incorporate those students that were either going to go into the workforce. We already were including those that were going to go to the military and those that were going to go to university or colleges, but we had left out those that are just going to go be hardworking citizens. And that's something to be proud of. And so for us, it really changed our approach, and we incorporated that into all of our future signing days. And I felt like that was one of those moments where great input from one of our students. If we've done something right, we've given that student a voice to be able to approach one of us in education or as a superintendent. He came right up to me after that ceremony, and he was very so professional about it, just humble. But it spoke volumes to what we were trying to inspire and motivate our kids to do. But more importantly, that they're helping to shape some of our biggest programs.
Right.
And so that was, when I talk about a profound impact in my own professional career, that was kind of a aha moment.
Yeah, I love that so much.
Definitely.
It really, like you said, Dr. Lopez, speaks to that success isn't necessarily just defined to one area, right? What we want to make sure that we equip our students to be successful in whatever pathway that they want to lead their life on, whether that's career, military, college, wherever it looks like. I love that so much.
And now flipping it to the other side of it, of you have worked with multiple numbers of teachers and people in education. What advice would you give them in the education world today? Because the education has changed from 2 years ago, 20 years ago.
Right.
So what advice would you give them?
Especially if they're in the field of education or they're looking to go into it, my number one advice to them is just to realize that there's not a silver bullet. There's not a specific program. There's not an ideal curriculum. However, there are tools out there to help make us be successful and to help, most importantly, motivate and inspire our kids. And so oftentimes with the constant changes that are taking place in education, sometimes there's almost like a feeling of despair or a feeling of like, does what we're doing really matter? And what I would share with them is that you have no idea what kid is out there really needs that smile, what kid really needs that pat on the back, or just needs to be picked up. And so although we may be focused on academics or on extracurricular activities, at the end of the day, how can we motivate that one child that may have been thinking about something, maybe going down the wrong path? If we can help put them on a successful path for their own individual success, then we've done a good thing. And that's something to be proud of. And so, regardless of the academics or the extracurricular accolades, have we produced well-rounded citizens that can go out and be great individuals within our community? And if you believe that in your heart, then anything's possible.
That's great.
I always love to hear stories from teachers of when they see a child or a student get it or comprehend something. And I can't even imagine the love that fills their heart with that. Just knowing you guys did it together. I helped you and you helped me and we got you there together. So
yeah, I love that. And I'd like for you to share, Dr. Lopez. I know I've heard you say it a couple of times and just in conversation, but talking about your approach to our students and how you talk about these are our students. And I'd just love for you to kind of share that if you don't mind.
Sure. No, I mean, any student that's enrolled here with GISD is really our kids. They're our kids, whether they've grown up here their entire lives or they've moved in. And so we embrace them. We love them. We hug them. We believe in them. We want them to be successful. It doesn't mean that they're not going to have off days or they're not going to have days that they probably wish they had said something or done something. But we have great kids in our community. We've got great families. Really, GISD is kind of like the hidden gemstone. And as we start to rub it and we start to polish it, it's going to continue to shine bright.
Yeah.
But our kids really make up they're that shiny gemstone.
Yes.
So, I'm a firm believer that if you believe in your kids and you give them all the resources that you can, they will be successful.
Yes, I believe that as well.
I
It
do
starts
too.
with our students, and I'm excited to say I graduated from Greenville ISD. So even just seeing where students that I graduated with, I know you can walk all over, and even probably Natalie, people that you graduated with, and seeing where just when people pour in, teachers pour into you, administration pours into you, just how much that really lands as a stepping stone for just your success. And I look back and think of, you asked Dr. Lopez the questions of what teachers, and that's what matters. And so it's realizing that that's where it starts, is right as our students. So we're talking about Greenville ISD, and we've talked about, you coming on board, but just kind of in your insight, what do you feel like success looks like for Greenville ISD if we were to narrow it down to one question?
Sure. When I envision success, what I would characterize that would be everyone working hand in hand
Mm-hmm.
with one vision, one belief, one core system for student success. But that success can be academic, it could be extracurricular, it could be helping them to be part of a service organization, helping them to be successful in the job that they're working at or planning on working towards, but really helping them to find their niche.
Mm-hmm.
If we really believe in education and we truly believe that we want success for every student, and that we're going to make a difference in the life of every student that walks through our doors, then that comes down to helping them to find their niche.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds a little bit funny because you say, well, what's their niche? Well, we don't know yet.
Right.
We're going to help them, provide them with opportunities for pathways that they may choose to explore, whether that's STEM, whether that's robotics, whether that's engineering, whether that's getting their CNA or graduating with an associate's degree. But how can we help them find their niche so that they're happy, that they want to come to school,
Right.
that they want to be part of GISD?
I love that. I love that so much. One of the things that also too, and I know Dr. Lopez, you haven't mentioned this, but it also takes a village. They say it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a community to raise a student, and to allow that student to be successful. And so, as much as we want to put it and say, well, it's this one person's responsibility. No, I think it takes all of us. It takes communications. It takes, like you said, service organizations. It takes everyone in the community, parents, students, even those in the community that don't have current students enrolled. It does take a village. It takes a community to raise a student. And so I think that that's so important, because in doing all of that, in having a community that comes together and surrounds these students, it also helps them find their niche. I know there are people that I just encountered when I was in high school that helped me on the trajectory. I mean, I wanted to be a brain surgeon for a long time until I met a brain surgeon, and he told me how much blood was involved, and I never wanted to be a brain surgeon again. So it really is a community effort to make sure that we equip our students, and I love the word that you used, equip our students to figure out where life wants to take them. That's good.
We're stronger together.
That's right. Stronger together. Well, once again, we want to thank you, Dr. Lopez, but before we get out of here and end this, I want to take this opportunity and ask if there was anything else you'd like to share with, even just whether it's a parent, community member, student, a staff member. Is there anything you'd like to share with our Greenville ISD family as we move forward together?
Well, first of all, we are working hard. I can tell you that our campuses, our central office team, our maintenance department, our district-wide staff are working hard to do what's right for our kids here. It's not perfect. We don't claim to have all the answers, but we're surely going to work to try to do our best for our kids and for our community. And I think at the end of the year, I know that our community will be proud, and we'll continue to build upon that. Like I mentioned, there's not a silver bullet for success. I'm a firm believer that you've got to roll up your sleeves and work hard. But, just want to take this opportunity to thank all of our support staff. Well, my mom served as an LVN, a paraprofessional for over 20 plus years in the school system. And so I'd like to thank our maintenance staff, our bus drivers, our paraprofessionals, of course, all of our teachers and central office administrators and staff, and our teachers first and foremost. But want to thank all those individuals that work behind the scenes to make sure that everything's great, and our custodians, our groundskeepers. Thank you for all that you do, and just know that that your hard work does not go unnoticed, and we're proud to have you as part of this team.
Fantastic. Well, I think I speak on behalf of all of Greenville ISD. We are honored to have you as our proud superintendent of schools for Greenville ISD. And I know personally and also in the community, we're excited to see where Greenville ISD continues to go and as we push towards success. And as we continue to set the standard here at Greenville ISD and, make all the headlines for the great things that we have going on here.
Indeed.
So we want to say thank you, Dr. Lopez, again for all that you do and for joining us today. We want to say thank you to everyone listening, and we cannot wait to see you on the next episode. See you guys later.